Sounds
Banger.
delicious.
Banger. Great way to start the morning. That next to a little Turkish harvest
Yep.
complements each other so well.
Excuse me.
Ooh, I didn't think about it. This cherry cheesecake might go good with this coffee.
I think it would. Mm.
Dude,
All
just
right.
check out how bright this fucking thing is, dude. I kind of like it, dude.
It's like
'Cause it's just-
neon.
Yeah, it's like day glow yellow, bro. Like for reals. That's kind of cool.
Kind of looks like a tennis ball.
Oh yeah. It's like it's definitely more yellow in person, but on screen it definitely kind of looks like that tennis ball or like that high vis yellow you'd see
Yeah,
on
it definitely has
Yeah.
the high vis yellow thing going on for sure. Well, shit. Why don't we get this thing here popping?
Let's do it. I'm gonna load a dab.
Yes.
Papa Lapin.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Shedtime Podcast.
Yeah, guys, it's Ted Shine back at it again, and you already know what time it is. It's time for that Shedtime Podcast. Let's get it, yo. Saw, dudes.
Welcome back, everybody, and it's another beautiful day. It's finally fall. It's getting cold, and I mean, it's been cold as fuck in my house in the mornings because we're hitting down into those like 40s now around here.
It's the worst.
Oh my God. I mean, I love sleeping in it. Don't get me wrong. I love like having the window cracked at night now and just letting that fresh air come through and keep the bedroom super cold. But you get up in the morning, you got to go to the bathroom, take your piss, you're putting your feet on the cold floor. Oh God, I'm not ready. Not ready.
Dude,
Well,
I'm not either. And like, I haven't even turned my furnace on yet. So it's like actually like legit. Like right now it's sunny and nice. But like last night, dude, I was like sitting there watching some like TV with the dog. And I told him, like, Indy, just come lie on my lap, bro. Cause my legs are freezing right now. Cause it was fucking quick math, like 64 degrees, something like that in my like living room. And I was like, this is kind of too cold to just chill. But once he was lying on me, it was like that perfect little 50-pound heater. And I was like, all right, I'm okay now.
It ain't that cold here yet, bro. It's
Yeah.
still in like the fucking 80s and shit during the day. It might get down to like, that at night, but it gets right hot again during the day as soon as the sun comes up.
Yeah, like it's 70 something. It's probably like 72, 73 today. And it's sunny and gorgeous. So
Like I think the other day I went and ran around, did a couple things, and it was like 95.
Yikes.
yeah, dude, that's too hot. But
Yeah.
man, you know what? This
Oof.
is another thing that like I've come to realize is that when you're not used to something and you hear like a high temperature, it sounds hot. And like, you also don't really know what it's like because like it might not be the same humidity when it's 95 for James as it is for me or it is for Sean, which makes
it's
a
just
difference.
a
It's like,
dry heat, dude. And
Yeah,
that's
like,
that's
my
the one
hands
thing
will
I've
probably
always
just
tried to
look like a
tell people
disaster.
too when they're like start telling people, oh, you don't know what hot is, or oh, you don't know what cold is, or this or that. Like, man, you're from where you're from. I'm from where I'm from. I'm used to this shit. You used to that shit. You come over here, you're probably gonna like dislike some part of the weather, whether it be the hot or the cold. And I'm probably gonna go where you're at, and I'm probably gonna dislike whether the hot or the cold. You know what I mean? Is you get used to your environment. You know what I mean?
Well, and even as your environment changes, right? Like,
Yeah.
shit, just 5 months ago, 65 degrees felt warm to me.
Yeah.
Now 65 degrees feels cold because my body got acclimated to the 90 plus degree
Exactly.
days.
You're
Yeah,
exact
facts.
as you said, Sean. Your body acclimates to your climate. You know what I mean? So if you spend enough time somewhere, you'll get used to it. You know what I mean? But if you go there one time for like a couple days, you might get used to it by like the last day you're there. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
those first 2 days, you're going to be fucking miserable. You know what I mean? And then you're going to go home and you're like, yes, this is what I'm used to. Fucking back to normal or whatever. You know what I mean? But sometimes you go somewhere and you're there for a long period of time and then you come home and then you're like, fuck, dude, I forgot how bad this could be. You know what I mean? Because like you were so used to where you're, I've got the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? Sometimes, you know, it's just dependent on the situation.
Dude,
And
you say that makes me think I feel bad for people who travel long distance and stuff for business for long periods of time because like I'm thinking about a guy who maybe has to travel to California and spend a month or two out there working and then has to come back to like the Northeast where I'm at where like now the climate has drastically changed.
Yeah.
And like the shock that he has to go through experiencing that, like, yikes. And I'm over here like, I'm in a similar situation to Chris where like I have fireplaces to like heat the house. That's what we do here. So I haven't even gotten to the stage yet where I've even bothered to get a delivery of wood for the season. Like I have to do that now because we're just getting there. But it's like, yeah, it's that 64 degrees in the living room in the morning. You're like, ooh, it's a little chilly. Can't wait for this cup of coffee to
Dude,
start warming me
I
up.
would love for it to be, because honestly, I'm at the point right now where I'm still sleeping with only a sheet to cover me. Is that how hot I am at night?
Oh,
Like I can't wait till I could bust out the nice thick like comforter or whatever, dude. Because I love sleeping with a nice heavy blanket. Like Chris, I think you've said something about that before
I
too.
use a quilt.
There's just something about it that just like the weight of that blanket just makes me feel so like comfortable and secure. And while I'm sleeping, that it just helps me just fall asleep faster. I feel, and when I don't have it, I toss and turn so much more because like I feel like I don't have like that kind of like little bit of weight kind of. Not like a weighted blanket, but just like a heavy blanket, just a little something kind of holding me down, kind of making me feel tucked in, per se.
Yes, I get exactly what you mean.
I just enjoy it, man.
I'm a big fan of like the lighter blankets myself, but I'm also not a sheet guy at all. Like I have the top fitted sheet on the mattress and then the blanket. I'm not a top sheet guy. I don't like the extra layers. I just want the one. So I go for like those like not fleece, but like that other stuff. It's like heavier. So like it keeps you super warm, but it's also like a really thin blanket.
I know what you're talking about, where they're like real soft and like kind of like real fuzzy.
Yeah,
like
dude.
they're kind of thin, but they're still pretty warm at the same time.
Yeah, like they're not a fleece blanket, but they're similar. And
I know what you're talking about. I have a couple of them. They're nice.
They're like
because they're not like
balance.
the real heavy, fluffy stuff, but they are still soft. They're like a little bit like. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing like around here in the summertime when you're hitting that stage of the season where it you're still just using like some ambient air, maybe a fan at night. Excuse me. They're still like perfectly comfortable then. And then of course if you don't have some sort of cooling by the heat of the summer, well shit, you can't use it. It's rough.
Dude, seasons, man. Seasons. As a person that's like lived their entire life, I've never lived anywhere that didn't have like 4 seasons. Season changes sometimes are so welcomed.
Yes.
And then there's other times where you're like, yo, I'm not ready to fucking let this go. I'm not ready for that next phase. I think I'm like okay with fall. I think that this year I'm gonna be like definitely gonna be at that spot where like I'm like, fall, please don't leave me. Like I'm not ready for winter. I'm normally not a person that complains that much about the weather, and like I don't think that that's gonna all of a sudden start to happen. But I am not really looking forward to this winter. But I'm gonna fucking enjoy the fall because I don't know about you boys, but like I fucking love doing like tours for like fall colors, man. I fucking love fall colors. Like when you get to go on a ride, like a drive or whatever, and you're just driving down some like small town fucking county road and you just see like some nice dips and fucking valleys and you look across and you can see a few kilometers away and all you see is like all the colors just throughout all
well, let me tell you what, Chris,
trees, bro. It looks so
you don't get a lot
fun.
of that out here in the desert, bro.
Yeah, that's actually probably true. You'd probably love it then because it'd be like
the only time I ever get to do that is that like if I like go up to like the mountains or something, like when I used to jam with my buddy who lived up in Crestline. I'd go up there during like the fall, and that's where you get to see like a lot of more of the colors and stuff. Because of course there's trees and greenery, and dude, you'd even see deer and shit crossing the road every now and then. But yeah, I used to love that drive, dude.
Yeah,
Just
dude,
like,
it's so.
And
great.
it was kind of exactly what you were talking about, though, where it's like I'm literally driving down or up like windy mountain roads, and there's like little dips and turns, and then. And all of a sudden it opens up, and then all of a sudden then you're driving through a bunch of different trees, and then like you get like a little area where you could if you're there at the right time of day, you might catch a couple, like a doe out there with some little baby fawn or something there.
Yeah, you get to see and experience nature, right? I think that for me, like that's like one of the things that I love. And like when into the winter time, it's like a little bit more difficult to navigate. It's beautiful. Like there's not many things in life that are as beautiful as waking up and there being, like a fresh dusting of snow and the sun is out and you're looking around at the trees and they're just glistening because like the sun is coming down through like the snow and there's like no garbage anywhere. And like if your lawn or a yard has fucking dirt, you can't see it because all you see is this like perfect blanket of whiteness. And that I love. There's a lot of things about winter that I fucking loathe, but that I do love. But the fall, because you don't have like inclement weather really to worry about, you just have the views. That's like where it's at for me. Like the summer's nice and shit, and so is the spring because you see, you're starting to see the buds on the trees and everything. But like you kind of see like the grossness of society in the summer and the spring. In the fall, it starts to get covered up by leaves. So like it's kind of okay. But yeah, man, just there's something about like a nice fall day. Like, oh, I'm gonna have to go for it. Like, I hope that I get sent on like some northern run this week, just because the colors are gonna be popping. And if we get like a real bad rainstorm, it starts to pull down leaves a little bit earlier, so the colors don't last as long. So you always got to try to like soak it up while you can.
Yeah, man. We have out in Western Mass. That's kind of our area. That's the most rural, and so from where I am, if you're willing to take like a 3-hour drive across Massachusetts to get to the Western Mass area, places like Montague and things like that, dude, it's the Berkshire Mountains. So you're going through the mountains, you're going through old mining towns and stuff, and you get exactly what you're describing. It's those winding roads, it's the trees with like, one of my favorite things is that there's this beautiful river that runs through that area. And there's a stretch of the local highway that as you're driving it, like you're following the river. So you've got the entire bank of the river that goes way up, all covered in different pine trees and other, various, species of tree out there.
Dude,
oh, it's amazing.
That kind of scenery is cool, bro, because that's like kind of what I would get like partway through my drive up to Crestline, because I drive around Silverwood Lake. So you just have the lake right there and then all the trees and stuff surrounding the lake. And like you literally just drive through and like you're up on like kind of like up on like the mountainside. So you get to see like the entire lake, bro. And like everything around it, and like
I'm looking forward to that here on the pond.
Oh, dude, it's gonna look beautiful.
Dude,
out there.
I'm definitely gonna be down there taking photos when the color starts to change.
Just chilling out there with like a little cup of coffee or something.
It trust me, when the morning is at least somewhat comfortable to go on the porch right now, like it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just grab the cup of coffee, stand on the porch for 10 minutes.
Gotta get it in before it gets too cold.
Exactly. That's the thing, man. Like I don't really want to be out there in the 40 degree mornings.
Dude, I don't blame you, bro. But like if you can get a couple like good, like a little bit warmer mornings in before it's too late, dude.
Right. Yeah. It's awesome. I gotta get some
that's the one thing, bro. As like I've gotten older, is I've tried to just take in like little moments like that, you know what I mean? Like just if I'm in a place that like there's just like there's just some natural beauty, you know what I mean? Like not to just like pass it by and just be like, oh, that was kind of cool. Just like actually to sit there and like kind of take a moment just to take it in, you know what I mean? And be like, we live in a pretty beautiful world, man. Like it's just crazy, like how much we fuck it up, you know what I mean? Like when you really think about it. But like 100%. I also just try to like just take in the natural beauty, dude, because like it does kind of give you like a, kind of like a euphoric kind of like, wow, this is crazy,
well, that's the thing, right? Is like when you get to immerse yourself in nature in the beauty of nature.
You get to
You're-
forget about all the hustle and bustle of everyday life and all the other bullshit and stresses, dude. You just are one with the world at that point for a
you're
second.
breathing fresh air. You're
Yeah.
back to nature. I mean, we are in and of ourselves part of nature. We are a naturally created creature. And when we're back in nature, we're back in that element, we're back where human life starts, in nature, with the birds, the bees, the bugs, the trees. And that's empowering. And if you're lucky enough to be far enough away from cityscapes, you're out there breathing, fresh air. That makes a world of difference.
Dude, that's why, like, when I was a kid, I remember, going camping and everything, even into like being like a Boy Scout and shit like that. When you go camping and you go somewhere like far away from cities, like far away from cities, and you'd like kind of like be asleep and you wake up, like, even if it wasn't the most comfortable thing, like I'd always feel so refreshed. And I think that like that's part of it too. It's like quiet. And it's just like the air is so much better. And like I didn't even grow up in like a crazy urban area, but like you'd still have cars driving around all the time. There'd be like industry not far from you. There'd be just like
But
a
dude,
good
when you're
amount of
amongst
noise
the trees,
pollution.
bro, you're getting it straight from the source, man.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
and you're just quiet, dude. It's so quiet when you're like far enough away from like where people are driving.
I went
just
real Ted
anything,
Shime on you
bro.
guys there for a second.
No,
Yeah,
but
dude.
you're right though, because like there is a meditative technique known as forest breathing, and it's literally a idea of going into the middle of a forest so that you have the peace and quiet and the fresh, clean air right from the source. And in some instances, they institute a element of climbing. So the idea is to actually like get in a climbing rig set up and climb the tree. So that way, you're safely suspended in the tree and then meditate in the tree, which, I mean, I'm a little bit afraid of heights at certain levels. Like I would call it irrational fear of heights. Like when I get to certain points where I'm like, yo, there's no chance of survival if I fall, I start to get scared. But there's something intriguing about the idea of getting up in a professional climbing rig and getting up 40 feet up into a big ass tree and just maybe resting off a limb and just taking it all in.
Dude, just get yourself a tree stand, bro. Put yourself a tree stand up in the tree. Climb the tree, set up in your tree stand and meditate, man. You know what I mean?
Shit, all I gotta do is go out back. I'm on such a wooded lot, like I'm surrounded by the trees. It's beautiful. I'm already,
Dude, how
15
cool would
feet
it be
up.
to be in like to be in an Airbnb treehouse? Because I'm
They-
sure
That would be
They're out there,
sick.
bro.
Oh, I 100% know there's.
So the thing, like I'm a nerd about this stuff, and Treehouse Masters, favorite little thing. I've done some digging and stuff. Not only does the dude Pete Nelson, who does the whole Treehouse Masters show, not only does he do what he does and build people different tree houses customized and shit like that, but his actual property, Treehouse Point, is just that. You can rent the tree houses for a few nights and stay as like an Airbnb. So he's one, and he also has a partner in Texas who he opened a partnership with down there. I think it's called the Laurel House, and there too, there's like 4 or 5 tree houses that he designed and built that you can rent. It is expensive as hell. Some of these are like $1,000 a night.
Dude, I watched this video the other day, bro. Total opposite of trees, but these dudes stayed in a underwater, like completely submerged hotel for like 2 days.
Dude,
And the only way you can get to it
as far as the
is
submarine.
by scuba diving to it. And like you literally scuba dive in, go up these stairs. And dude, like the guy that like runs the place, like the only way you can get anything is by him delivering it via scuba.
I was gonna say, is this the one where they have like the specially designed pizza case so that they can get like a pizza brought down?
And it's literally like one of those like waterproof, like Pelican case sort of things. And
Yes,
like, yeah, dude. And he brought him like 4 pizzas, dude. It was crazy.
I didn't watch the thing you watched, but I actually watched a thing that mentioned it and showed a bunch of clips of that place.
It's legit, dude. And these guys stay down there. And apparently, like, it's one of those, it's like you kind of get like kind of a little loopy while you're down there, just because like the oxygen and like the pressure and like all that sort of shit, like it's kind of weird. Like they're down there for like a couple hours and they're like, dude, I feel weird, bro. Like it's kind of funny, but
well, yeah, I mean, I got to imagine
crazy.
There are other places other than that one too that are a little less extreme, because the thing I had watched brought up another one where you had like a top floor that was on, the ground level, so to speak. But then the whole bottom floor of your hotel room was underwater. So like your bedroom,
that's cool,
where you sleep.
Dude, imagine sleeping down there. It'd probably be so fucking quiet. Oh.
Yeah. And like you literally like 180 degrees wrapped in glass.
That's cool.
With all that ocean life around you.
That's cool.
So like I saw that, I was like, ooh, but again, they said it was some ridiculous number. It was like several $1,000s a night to rent the place. And I was like,
well, I'm sure they got to be crazy expensive because insurance policies they've got to have on.
Well, it probably was pretty expensive to build too, right?
That's the thing. Like those underwater pods, if you will, have to be made with like material, probably acrylic. That's like half a foot or a foot thick.
On just building these things and keeping these things, like able to like be occupied. You know what I mean?
So like, yeah, dude, just the cost of building and like you said, the insurance policy on that.
Because they have to have some sort of crazy insurance thing going on there.
Oh, 100%.
Because
there's no way you couldn't.
Yeah.
To be a viable business unless, well, I mean, in America. I guess I can't speak for other countries. I have no idea how easy or not it is to start a business.
I'm sure in some places it's like much more difficult than America, and then there's probably places that might be a little bit simpler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's places where it's like, oh, you want to open a hotel? All right, you have a license to open a hotel now. No inspection needed.
Where like there's not like 100 different licenses that you need to get. In some places, like in Canada, you'd have to get so many different licenses. I'm sure America would be the same. Probably have to get like a certain level of insurances, licenses. Not to mention if you want to have like a fucking lounge with a bar in it, that's like just adding more to it, or food. You have to have like certain things written off because you're now like a restaurateur and like, oh, dude, so many different things. It's true. Because like I don't know about bed and breakfast. I don't know like how that rolls because like I've never looked into it for even a second, or even like a rental property or something like that. But I imagine that if you were to buy something to rent and even list it through oh my god, I'm high, boys. What is the thing called? Airbnb. Yeah, there we are. That you probably have to like notify your insurance company, and you probably have to like pay elevated fees or some level because like you're not using it as a primary residence. Like there's just so many things.
Well,
like,
so there's two versions
right?
of that, right? Airbnb has ones that aren't primary residents and ones that are. Like my neighbor runs an Airbnb in the place next door to me, and she's an on-site tenant situation. So she lives there on the property.
It was kind of like the Stooge house.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like the Stooge house because like they had like their like person living in that little back house.
Yeah, the garage on top of the garage or whatever.
Yeah. She's got her like her apartment that she herself lives in one part of the house, and then you get the rest of the house basically. And I mean, it's kind of cool because she can also act as your own personal guide if you want. So like she has built a relationship with some customers recently or I guess over time, that continually return to this property next door. And she actually brought them to my dispensary that I work at because she knew that it was a good dispensary. And I was like, yo, that's good looking out. Like,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
real.
thanks for bringing your guest to my spot. I appreciate
Well, that's
you.
kind of cool too, because then you know that like you can you're chill to smoke weed at that fucking that spot too. 'Cause
Well,
she's
I
like, well,
mean,
let's go.
you know, exactly. It was cool. And even better is that apparently we impressed them enough that they came without her just recently. So shout out to those folks for stopping in and seeing me
Nice.
again. That was really cool. I've got repeat customers out of those folks now, so I appreciate that. But yeah, there's some crazy hotels and bed and breakfasts and stuff like that. Like even here, we have the Lizzie Borden house, the infamous house that Lizzie Borden killed her family in. You can stay as a bed and breakfast and actually stay in the murder rooms, and like all the furniture is still there. It's the real furniture that like they found the bodies in, all that, and you can stay there.
Yeah, you know what? Like that's cool if people want to do that. Like that's not my thing. I prefer to not like go out of my way to stay at places like that. But that could also be because like I'm not necessarily against the idea that there could be ghosts.
Well,
Like
that's the
you know what I mean? And maybe that's
the
the lure
premise.
for that.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing. They are selling it as you stay at the haunted Lizzie Borden house. There have been countless paranormal investigations done there. People have obtained lots of evidence that there is something going on in there. People have taken pictures of there's a I guess you would call it like I don't know, it's like a chaise lounge. It's like this little piece of furniture that I believe her father was killed on. And people have actually taken photographs of it in their paranormal investigations and seen a shadow in the exact shape of where his body was found. So, like, there's been some interesting things and weird anomalies and stuff that people have captured when they've been there. So, who's to say, you know, until we develop some technology to be truly like the Ghostbusters and, you know, definitively see and prove ghosts are real? We'll continue to speculate, I guess. But I definitely want to go and check it out, like as a tour. I don't know if
Yeah,
I
that'd
want to
be
stay, but like,
I would,
I'm
yeah, it'd be
good.
cool to go check it out. Like, you know
I'm
what I mean?
I'm good.
But I wouldn't want to stay there. I personally wouldn't want to stay there.
you know,
I'll be over here. You guys can go check it out.
Yeah, we'll report back to you.
Yeah, let me know what happens. I'm
so
good.
then, all right, let me ask you this question: would you do like the Salem witch trial tours and stuff out here if you were ever
Oh, yeah,
here,
I would check that out.
knowing that some of those places are also allegedly haunted?
Well, that's different though, because like I'm not going to be like I'm not going to that place specifically because it's haunted. I'm going to check out a lot of the other shit. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair. So it's for you the draw of the overarching history is more
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
than just the history of
yeah,
a random murder in
yeah.
the house. Okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
I got you.
I'm honestly kind of like a history. I wouldn't say a history buff, but like I just really enjoy history. You know what I mean? If I can go to a place that's like had some sort of like historical impact or event that was like really big or something like that, I'm genuinely interested in like what, you know, what's there, like what I can see or, you know what I mean? That sort of stuff.
Oh, I'm 100% with you on that. Like that's part of what I love about living where I live, because I mean, Plymouth,
Yeah.
Massachusetts,
It's
you
like
know,
the beginning, bro.
exactly. We're America's hometown. That's our shtick, our motto out here. But what kills me is that as a person who really genuinely appreciates the history, the whole like gentrification of the area now is really destroying a lot of that history. And it bums me out that we're not just renovating these historic spaces and then just repurposing, right? Like in my old neighborhood, I was in the old mill neighborhood, and we had the cordage rope factory there. Cordage rope factory was a huge part of our success as a country because it manufactured a vast majority of the rope for this country at the time. And all that remains are like the main offices. That's it. The rest of the mills have all basically been torn down. And it's a shame because instead of just repurposing that space and preserving it so at least we had the history, now all we have are, a handful of old historic photos and, some people who have thankfully successfully photographed it throughout its history in clandestine ways, so that way that stuff would be preserved. Guys like Trespassing and stuff like that, who are, doing the urban decay stuff. Those guys have actually seen the tunnels that are underneath that rope factory. And those tunnels run all over this town because during the war efforts, they would move shipments of supplies from the factory through the town through these tunnels in order to get them to safe loading zones. So
Crazy.
all this history lies in my town, and it's crazy. Like on the property of a nursing home here in town are old munitions bunkers from the war effort, just little storage caches, and they're just dotted throughout the woods out there. It's amazing. But again, so much of these things are getting lost, and it's a shame because I too love that kind of weird, small, local history stuff.
Dude, that's so interesting for sure. And I think that the cool thing about that too is like you can kind of go to different areas and like even if they're at different times, you kind of can get like those histories. You know what I mean? Like I always like driving down the road and you'll see like a heritage plaque up here. And if you were to stop, there'll be like a write-up of like what that site was at some point. So you could stop and it might be like, oh, at this spot, this was like the biggest mill in this area in like 1801. And it'll give you like a write-up about the mill and like when it was like decommissioned or whatever it happens to be. And like there could be countless of these things. Like the mill is just one of those things, but it could be like what like when so like this one town that I go to a lot for work and like I plan on moving to eventually, called Bancroft. Dude, they have like all these things that are on their radio. So they have like a local radio. It's like a pretty good radio station. I mean, it plays everything. And for like a small town, it's pretty solid. They have like legit DJs and shit. But they have like cultural moments or like historical moments. And it'll like talk about like when they first got electricity in this town or when people used to get there by like horseback from Toronto in like a week. Like all sorts of like unique, interesting facts about that area that I find really cool. Because those are the kinds of things that I like. Like those are the kinds of things that I find to be interesting. Like I like knowing those things, even though they probably don't do any service for me in my life. I still just like knowing those things. You know what I mean? So I always find history in any level. Like even if you told me about something that happened in 1920, well, guess what? That's before I was born. That's before my parents were born. Like that's before some of my grandparents were born. So that's a long ass time ago. If you can tell me something cool about that time, like I'll try to get into it. You know what I mean? That's just the vibe that I like to fucking tap into once in a while.
Yep. It's a good thing, man. I think that's something that a lot of people share in one way or another. Cause like when I think about like popular movies that have been, historical based movies, there's tons of them, right? When you think about like all sorts of things that have that like edge of a history to it, I think all of us want to know something about who we were as a people, if you will, at a time before us. I don't know if it's like an element of nostalgia that everybody just kind of has, that like we kind of want to feel and relive something of the past, but I think there's a desire for some element of history in everybody. You just have to find out what it is. I mean, let's face it, right? Like shoe collectors want to know the history of their favorite shoe companies. Music fans want to know the history of their favorite bands. So gotta love history,
dude.
And history of bands, dude. I got into a Wilhelm Scream, which I think was somebody that you made a recommendation of, Chris, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
A Wilhelm Scream punk band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I started looking into their history and realized that they're from like 25, 30 minutes up the road from me.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're from New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Yeah, because dude, like I'm pretty sure that band, they've actually had like members that have done other bands and shit. Like they're like pretty, like they're probably lifers in music. You know what I mean? Like they've been fairly successful for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, it kind of blew me away. I had no idea that New Bedford had produced them. And then, of course, the more you pay attention to their music, you go, how did you not know? There's references to it all over the place. But yeah, history. I literally, I get into something, I want to know a little bit about the history. Bands, artists, actors. I want to know.
All the things, bro.
That's
I want to know
right.
all the
Dude,
things.
just being more versed in like areas or like even especially like where you grew up or close to. It's
If
cool.
something interests me, I just want to know as much as I can about it. You know what I mean? Majority of the time. Until I lose interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which happens quite a bit. I'm not going to lie to you. There's some times where I get really into something. And then after a while, I'm just kind of like, You know what I mean? And then I'm just on to the next thing.
But those are the seasons of life.
Yeah.
How's that for a callback? But yeah, we all go through seasons in life. I've been coming out of a dark season and going into a good one now. A nice
Dude,
bright season.
And I gotta say kudos to you, Sean. I know we kind of talked a little bit about it yesterday with the old Breeze tones in the old Discord, dude. And I'm proud of you, bro. I know this is something that you've been working on, and it's good to see, bro. I've noticed a change, bro.
Dude.
And it's cool. It's cool to see, bro.
I appreciate it. I mean, we talk a lot about mental health on this show, and
and I feel like I've been doing a lot of the same things, bro. And it's cool to like see us growing together. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like sometimes you have to find some sort of rock bottom to decide that like you've really got to make these extra steps. And like I started doing that, and started taking better care of myself, doing the right steps, and it's been really fucking cool to do. It's been eye-opening that I can feel this good again.
It's like the weight's kind of being lifted, and it's like you don't feel so fucking weighed down all the time.
Yeah,
that's at least how I feel. You know what I mean? It's like I don't feel like I'm carrying so much with me all the time.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to go and shed the bad energy.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the listeners that like, don't fully know, like I've gone around, you'll notice if you guys follow us closely on social media, I started dropping that angry hippie moniker.
Yeah, I need to start changing some we need to start changing some.
Yeah, I gotta make a new logo up, and stuff. But like I started dropping that because I need to not be an angry guy anymore, because it doesn't serve anybody anyway. You know what I mean? And it's been liberating. It's been real liberating. Another interesting one that I thought was, gonna be weird to people when I explained it, but everyone kind of got it, was that like I ended up cutting out 15 of my dreads because hair holds energy. And I knew that I just needed to dispose of so much of this like negative energy. And like I started telling people that, and they were like, no, actually that makes a ton of sense. I was like, whoa.
Well, it's like, think about it, bro. Your hair retains everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. It's it was another one of those, like, it was freeing. It felt spiritually lifting.
I've never really thought about it like that though, Sean. And that's kind of like an interesting thing, which is interesting for me because I don't have any. So it's like, where am I hanging on to all my shit? It's not so much in my hair, but
it's gotta be the stash,
James,
man.
I don't know.
It's probably the stash, bro.
Shave your mustache, bro. I don't know
if I can handle it. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could.
I've never seen you without hair on your lip, man. I've seen you without like a beard, definitely lots. I've seen you with the beard lots, but not without a fucking mustache, bro.
Yeah, the mustache is kind of like my calling card, bro.
I say losing the mustache would be tough.
Thing. Like if any of us three were clean shaven, I think it would trip all of us out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's like when shout out to Sammy Nitro. It's like whenever he gets a weird hair up his ass, and he comes in and he's just completely everything. And I'm like, why, Sammy? Why do you got to do it all at once? and just like fucking bum rush me with this craziness. I don't like it.
Yeah, like who is this guy parading as our friend? Stop it.
Don't do that. Don't
Ease
do
me
that to
into
me,
this
Sammy. You're not Mr. Nitro right now. I don't know what you are.
Like, I'm scared. I need an adult.
But hey, you know what? At the end of the day, kudos to him for having the confidence to just do it, bro. That's part of my thing too, bro. It's like I feel like I've gained a lot of confidence over the years, but there's certain things that's just like, they're kind of like safety net, or just like a little safety blanket for me. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, dude, I get that. Okay, so I remember
like why I wear hats all the time.
Dude,
I know I'm bald,
friend,
and I'm cool with it, but I also just rather put a hat on and cover it up.
Yeah, but even if you weren't bald, you know what I mean? You probably would still rock a hat because that's
I just like hats,
right?
bro.
And so my parents' friend, right? Rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago, but he was a fucking amazing man. And I only knew him with beard, right? Because I met him when he was probably in his late 50s. And I was probably he might have even been in the 60s. And I was probably in my early 30s, late 20s. And he was so outgoing, and he was just such a kind dude, but he would be out there. He was a real estate agent, which he wasn't for a long time in his life, but apparently his wife actually said it one time when I was present, and he wasn't. And she said that Brian, his name was Brian, Brian wasn't never as confident until he grew his beard. And once he grew his beard, he just became this outgoing, never scared to carry a conversation.
Dude, I kind of feel
room. You know what I mean?
I kind of feel like that's what this. I kind of feel like that's what the stash does for me, bro.
Yeah, and you know
to
what,
be honest,
dude, I get it because
I feel
normal
this is
with
the thing.
Beard. If I didn't have one, I'd be
I feel like if I shaved, people wouldn't take me as serious. You know what I mean? Because this is the thing.
If you feel that way, then that's a thing.
Because when I shave, bro, I look way younger than I am. If I shave, I look about 15 years younger than I am. You know what I mean? Not maybe not 15, but I look like a teenager or a very young 20-year-old. You know what I mean? When you're 31 years old and you shave and you start having a conversation with somebody, who may either be the same age or a little older, they don't look at you as a peer. They kind of look at you as a kid. You know what I mean? I feel like that's at least what my experience has been for a long period of time in my life. So as soon as I grew a mustache, I feel like people kind of oh, well, this guy, I feel like I look a little bit older.
Yeah, they look at your mustache and go, no kid's got a mustache that full. He's got to be old enough.
And I feel like people take me a little bit more serious on a day-to-day basis, and I kind of get a little bit more respect. I don't know. Maybe it's just in my head. It's probably a lot in my head.
Yeah,
but
it probably is, and it just helps your confidence, right? And I think that's what it was.
And you know what it is too, Chris, is I like the way it fucking looks. Okay,
dude,
I do.
That's fine too.
Sometimes it's a little scraggly like it is right now, but I also, I've been under the weather, so I haven't had, I didn't have the energy to really get up and shave and shit, but it's all good.
Dude, believe me, I feel the same way. Even though my beard's going gray,
my mustache is kind of hanging in my mouth.
I still when I get out of the shower and I'm fuck, I dry my face and I comb my beard, which I don't do anything to, which I need to. That needs to be something that I start to do. But I like it because when I was a kid, I couldn't fucking grow a beard. I was 18 and all my friends, not all my friends, but a lot of my friends could grow beards. And dude, I'd have the weakest fucking beard ever. And I would not even bother. I would probably have to shave once a month and you'd never even really know that I didn't shave. It was that bad, right? So now I'm yo, my beard's pretty solid. I'm okay with it. So I look at it and I'll be oh, you know what? How would I not have this beard? I've had this beard for over a decade. I've never seen my fully clean shaven self in over a decade. So now it's I don't even want to because I would just freak out.
Yeah.
Not to mention that I think I would.
You wouldn't recognize yourself.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be yo, what the fuck? You look old, bro. Maybe I would. I don't even know. Maybe
I have thought about it a few times, bro, but I could just never bring myself to do it.
It's the goatee. I've had a goatee.
I have no problem getting rid of the beard, but the stash has got to stay.
I'm working my way to try to be the handlebar mustache guy now.
Dude, I've been
been training it to start to move sideways better.
Mine doesn't come down. It goes this way. You know what I mean? So like my beard kind of connects this way. So it's like it doesn't really, I just have to let the ends just get really fucking long. You know what I mean?
See,
but at that point, they're gonna start getting in my mouth, and
mine doesn't connect.
Yeah, or you have to like twist it out and then pull it down.
I'm like, I have the mustache for it. That's the thing. I just need like to train it and get like the wax and stuff, and it's just too low on the priority list at the moment.
Yeah, see, I don't have the mustache to do that. Like my mouth shape is not.
Dude,
really
you could you could do a mean Fu Manchu though, bro.
No, I could, yeah, for sure. Like right down through.
That looks sick.
I actually did it once when I worked at this place, and it was like a seasonal gig. But I was lucky, and I was one of the people that was only laid off for a month. Like I basically would have like the month of January off.
Dude.
And dude, for like the last week of work, bro, I fucking shaved in. So like at this point, I used to like rock a goatee or like whatever. I didn't like rock a full beard. So I had like had a goatee in, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna shave like a fucking Fu Manchu. So like I shaved, like left this, trimmed it up nice, and then shaved right down here all the way through. And it was like not as long as this, but it was like hanging off my face like that, dude. And I was like, walked into work. I was like, hey, what's up, yo? They're like, what the fuck did you do, man? I was like, you look fucking weird as fuck.
That's
like,
gold, dude.
This is fucking. What are you talking about?
It'd have been better if you would have braided it.
Like
I think I even said, I was like, yo, man, I like put a post up on Facebook, and I was like getting hit in the DMs all over the place. Chicks were loving it. just joking around. But it was just for jokes, and it looked ridiculous. Like I totally agree,
bro.
But like now, dude, if I shaved one in now, because like my beard's like pretty long. It's not like as
you
long
can
as
get
it's
someone
been,
to do two nice little braids there, bro. You know what I mean?
Like, dude, I should get like cornrows in fucking my beard. I mean, I don't know how often I've ever seen that, but I would do that.
I don't think anybody's done that, bro.
Dude, imagine like doing it
so.
this way. So like you're like bringing the beard up and like just bringing it up your face. I'd be all right.
That'd be all right.
Yeah. That would be a sight. It would be a thing.
See, like, dude, look at how long some of this is like off my neck, dude. It's also crazy white, which is so fucking depressing, but that's fucking long, man. Getting old sucks, boys. I mean, shit. There's so many things that happen as you get older. And some of them are like, you know, people have to go through them earlier in life, but like just so many things, man. Like your own personal health, people that you know's health, like everything else. Like,
I feel like we've all kind of
wild.
been, or at least I know you and me have faced with a lot of shit like that recently, Chris, and it's just crazy, dude.
Dude, it is, because there's not like a whole lot of preparation for all these things.
No, it's just because like you can't really prepare for things that you don't know are going to happen. You know what I mean? They just kind of happen, and you gotta take it as they come. And it's just some things you can be a little bit more prepared for than others, but some of them, dude, it's just like, you know what I mean? They throw you for a loop, and you're just kind of like, what? Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is nuts. Why is this happening right now? You know?
Life is a fucked up
Timing
thing.
is everything, man.
It's a roller coaster, bro.
You
like,
know?
It really is, dude. Because there's a lot of ups and downs, 100%.
Well, that's
some of the
thing,
ups
right?
and some of the downs are bigger than the others. Yeah, without the lows,
right?
And some of the dips and peaks are higher or lower than others. You know, some of them are just little bumps, and some of them are big dips and big climbs.
And I think the lesson is that we can't react to the lows in an extreme, right? Like,
well, because we got to realize that it's like the saying goes, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. You know what I mean? It comes with everything in life. You know what I mean? There's gonna be some bad shit that's gonna happen. That also means at some point some good shit's fucking gonna happen. You know what I mean? You just gotta take it for the ride. You know what I mean? You just gotta sit back in that roller coaster seat, fucking strap in. You know, because for every dip, there's gonna be a climb. You know what I mean? The reason the dip's there is so that you can get to the climb. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you have
dude,
the speed to
every
get to the top.
peak has a valley.
Exactly.
So you have to remember that.
Otherwise, you're not going to continue to go, because if you just continue to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb, you know what I mean? At a certain point, you're going to lose momentum. You know what I'm saying? So if you get a little dip, that gives you the fucking energy to start climbing again. Crazy how these metaphors work, right?
Yep.
When you start breaking them down, because they are true.
It's 100%.
And it's nuts, dude. Because like a lot of times I don't think about these sort of the things until we start talking about them. You know.
Dude, in this vein, I heard a good one from Jim Carrey. He said, we need to redefine the term depressed and talk about what it really is. Deep rest. When you feel depressed, that's your body telling you it's in need of deep rest. It's a reminder that we need to slow down and actually let ourselves rest. And when he said that, I was like, holy crap. I think he's 100% right. Because for one, like, you start to change the tone of it, right? It's no longer so dark. Deep rest feels a lot less oppressive and unsurmountable than depression does, right? So if you're like, I need some deep rest, you're like, all right, cool. That feels a lot easier to take. And then from there, that's exactly what you need. You need to slow down and let your body rest. And that shit, it was like an unbelievable metaphor that I took to heart and started really, like, trying to practice, like, let my body rest once in a while. I mean, you think about athletes, right? Like, they got to work out, but then they have to rest in order to be at their peak performance. And you can't just run a car at, 1,000 fucking miles an hour all the time, or the engine's going to blow. The same goes for us in our human body. You can't be running yourself at 100 miles an hour every day and expect to fucking sustain that without blowing a gasket.
No, it's true, man. It's very true. That's why, like, lots of times, like on the weekends, because like I run myself pretty thin, like during the week, like I'll end up like sleeping a little bit more. So like during the week, I get like 4 hours sleep, and then by the weekend, I'll end up pulling like in like 7, maybe even 8 sometimes. And it's just because I know that my body is saying like, yo, homie, you need to fucking sleep a little bit more. You need like that recharge. And like that helps you, because when you're asleep, guess what you're not doing? Thinking. And sometimes I think too hard, and sometimes I like worry about things that are out of my control. And like they might not take over my life or anything, but it does kind of take over that little part of my brain. And after a while, like that starts to get, fatigue. Like I try to get fatigue, or sorry, I start to get fatigue from that, because like a bunch of little things kind of start to add up into like a little bit more of that negativity, or like a little bit more of those negative thoughts. And I try to like not let that happen. So sometimes like it'll involve me like doing something in effort to like relieve some of those thoughts faster. And other times I might be able to get away with it for a long time. But I find that if I'm like sleeping decent, that a lot of those things kind of sort themselves out better. It's weird. Like, well, it's not really that weird. Everyone's always saying like how important sleep is. So I guess it kind of makes sense.
Dude, I'll tell you what, bro. I've caught up on a lot of sleep the past fucking week, just because like I hadn't been feeling that great. And I'll tell you what, dude, I probably have slept more in the past week than I have in like the past like 2 months. You know what I mean? Like put
Yeah,
together.
I'm a little jealous, but I could just force myself or try to go to sleep earlier.
Well, and I like after waking up, after like kind of catching up on some of these, hours of sleep, like today, like I didn't sleep in quite as late as normally, obviously, because the podcast, but like I got like a full 8 hours sleep. And like, I'll tell you what, right now, I'm probably the most well rested I felt in a long time. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I actually slept really good last night. I did wake up like once or twice, but like that's just normal for me. But
Yeah.
like I feel like I actually slept really good. You know what I mean? And I'm not tired. I don't feel like, because usually I wake up like on like a Sunday after like staying up real late and hanging out and like getting real stoned or whatever, and then I'll wake up for the podcast and I'll still be sitting here and I'll still be kind of sleepy. Could be the
And then
coffee
right
that
now
helped.
you feel refreshed.
But yeah, right now I feel good, dude. I'm ready to attack the day. You know what I mean? And it's also probably could be partially because I felt like shit for the past week, and today is like the first day I feel like probably almost the best I've felt since. You know what I mean?
Feeling
Yeah,
like
yeah.
80, 90% finally.
My face is like opened up. You know what I mean? I'm not as congested. The sore throat is. It's just
A little bit of the
a little
colors
bit-
getting
it's just
back
a
in
little
your
there.
face.
Yeah,
yeah.
I have energy again. You know what I mean? I've got an appetite. Like I'm actually kind of hungry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's honestly, that's one of the funny things about getting sick like that is the benefit of it, right? Because it forces you to get all that extra rest to take it easy.
Yeah, it's
end
just
up
shitty
eating
that
less.
it takes getting fucking that sick to realize like, oh, dude, you've missed a lot of fucking sleep. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's another argument to it, right? Is it like if we take better care of ourselves, get more rest, eat better food, et cetera, we're less likely to get sick like that. And so it's a catch-22. Your body's going to get the rest one way or the other.
This is a fact.
I tell you though, another interesting thing I've been doing in this whole self-care subject is the microdosing on mushrooms. And for people who have ever heard about the concept of microdosing on mushrooms and wondered what it's like and wanted to, ask somebody about it, I'm in the middle of trying it right now, and it's been a really unique and interesting experience because as somebody who, regularly uses cannabis, I'm familiar with the state of, being stoned from weed. And in a microdose situation, you're taking like a half gram of mushrooms every 3 days or so. So one day on, take 2 to 3 days off, and then another dose. And during the initial time that you're using it, you are still very in control. Your mind and your functions are still there. You're not in a state where you're going to trip and hallucinate. But at the same time, you do kind of feel relaxed and almost as if you've been smoking a little bit of weed and got some really good shit, like just a really nice, good kind of a weed high. That sort of works its way through the whole body so that like your hands and stuff feel a little bit looser, your muscles don't ache much. But the really interesting thing is the afterglow effect. People who have done mushrooms 2 trip understand that for the few days after, you've definitely got this like extra like happy glow about you. Well, it still works in the microdose situation. So for several days after your microdose experience, you're still feeling the loose, happy, elevated experience that you were getting from your initial microdose. Obviously, without the sort of being stoned feeling, but just in a general sense of well-being idea. And so it's been really cool that this has also been a part of my therapy that I'm putting myself through. And it works, man. It really does. It really lightens the load a lot. And I'm really excited to see this open up as another form of natural medicine that becomes more widely accepted.
Well, dude, I remember watching like this video. It was like a TV, like a little documentary or whatever, and it was about this dude that suffered from like some level of mental illness. I can't remember what it was, so I'm not gonna like try to say and then be wrong. But he had some level of issues, and he actually the only way that he had found to combat this was that once a month he would basically just trip on mushrooms.
I think
And
I've seen
for
the same documentary.
Yeah, dude, for that weekend, his like wife and kids would like leave the house, and this dude would just like eat a bunch of mushrooms, and he'd just fucking trip for like 2 days, and he would like they'd come back and everything would be good. You know what I mean? And like that was like how he was managing, like whatever his like issues were. And I remember watching that thinking like, yo, this is wild because like the dude would like prepare like so much, and he would like do all these things in order to like be, I guess, maybe in the right headspace or whatever it was for like the shroom trip. And he would do all this, and it like legit like saved his fucking marriage. It probably saved his relationship with his kids and shit, dude. It could have even saved his life. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
Because
remember
if you're
it.
living in that space and like you don't have a way to make it feel better or like alleviate some of those stresses and whatever else, you have no idea what could happen.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
remember it,
interesting
and
though.
he was somebody like, I don't remember specifically what the profession was, but he was like a high level professional, doctor, lawyer, that kind of a level, as I
Yeah, he
recall.
wasn't like some like uneducated just
Yeah, like
bum. That's
he
for
it
sure.
wasn't
Yeah.
just like, some construction worker with a migraine headache. Although um there is evidence that it's really effective for migraine headaches as well, which is another thing that, we're going to start to see studies done more on as it continues to get more widely accepted. But I'm excited to see what that could do for people, because you don't necessarily have to go as far as that guy did, because I recall them, you know, talking to him in the interview portions of it, and he was saying he doesn't enjoy it.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't enjoy
Yeah.
the trip, but he enjoys the after effects of everything.
Yeah, he knows that it's necessary, right? It's like people probably don't enjoy getting needles, but they appreciate the fact that those needles prevent them from getting sick or maybe help them while they're sick or whatever, right? It's not like you're like, oh, I can't wait to get more needles. It's just that you can't wait to feel normal. And I think that that's like the approach that that guy took for sure. Because I remember like watching him being like, yo, like, dude, I don't know how much I'd like it if like I was forcing myself once a month, but I've always enjoyed shrooms. Like, but lots of times when I'm enjoying them, I'm in the right space, right? I'm like in the right environment, and that's when I'm like, yo, like this is just right. Like, I always found like it was hard to like back in the day, dude, where you would be planning to like eat mushrooms because planning to eat mushrooms could like blow up in your face because that means you've committed. And then what happens if like the week before you're going to do this thing that you've had like a rough week? Like, dude, that's gonna not be gonna be a good trip. So like committing to doing it beforehand is tough. But like for me, it would be like I'm having a fucking great time. Someone's like, "Yo, I got some fucking shrooms. You want some?" I'd be like, "Let's go." You know what I mean?
See, like,
Just add up to that. Let's go.
that's the interesting thing too about it as a therapy, is that, like, in some cases it might even be healthy to deal with your rough week through something like a microdose,
Oh, for sure.
because it could
There's
help you.
benefits.
Like, there are people who have described it as giving them an opportunity to step outside of themselves in the moment and be able to be a conscious observer of themselves. So, like, maybe as an example, a confrontation at work, they would, have that moment of externalizing it and being like, oh no, I can't do that. That would be bad. I should do it this way. And then being able to actualize on it in the moment. And that's kind of cool, because it's the science shows that what's happening is it's creating neuroplasticity and helping to rewire different pathways in your mind, so that your brain is firing on another level. And so over time, the evidence is beginning to show that you can, in theory, rewire your brain for the better through this kind of a therapy. And that's kind of neat, because you know in that documentary's example, the dude's situation required him to take a heavy enough dose once a month that he was, uncomfortable, but he had to go through a trip to actually feel his effects. But perhaps the science will eventually show someone like him that something like I'm doing right now, where, this little half a gram dose every 3 days or so is an adequate dose to just maintain. And then it can be a thing where it's like, oh, it's Wednesday, I get out of work, I have dinner, I'll take my dose, I'll chill out for the night, and then I go to bed, you know? So
yeah, and it might be one of those things, Sean, that like you don't notice any effects in the first like 2-3 weeks, but it might be like a couple months from now that you're like, yo, you know what? Like that has to be what's going on. Cause like I'm just feeling a little bit better. Or like I'm that situation that I just had 3 months ago would have fucking ruined my rest of my week. But today I've already pushed through it. I've already learned how to combat that. I've already got myself to a spot. And like that's what it might be like. You know, it's like when people that take CBD, right? And they're like, oh, I didn't feel shit. It's like, no, like you have to think about it after a month and you've like built that up and you're storing it in your system and your body's consistently breaking it down for you to really actually be able to see or notice benefit. And I'm wondering if that's what'll happen with you. Like the first couple of times you might actually just be like a little bit high and that's it. Right. And then as you go on forward, you might notice that there's like certain things in your life that have actually really benefited and there's really nothing else that it could have been other than that.
well, I kind of already see it. And I mean, yes, it could just it in and of itself is a byproduct of all the work I've done. But like it's little things, right? Little things are kind of like the first indicator. So it's like the idiot that tries to cut you off in traffic, right? Instead of actually, letting that bother me, it's just like, all right, bud, there you go. You know, um, it definitely starts to feel like the perspective has changed, right? It's no longer it no longer feels ego driven.
You're not as reactive to things,
Yeah, but also that like
or just not negative in a negative way.
I don't
But
find myself seeing myself as the center of myself anymore. If that makes sense.
no, I kind of get what you're
Like
saying. Like it's not like
my
I
ego has shrunk. I'm no longer,
no, I
that
get what you're saying. Like
self-absorbed in that
you're
sense.
part of the ecosystem. You know what I mean? So it's just like you're going
Yeah.
about it in that way instead of being like, okay, I'm the center and everything's going on around me. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm going along with everybody.
I'm an active participant
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of having life happen to me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know,
it's like you're one with it. You know what I mean? You're moving with it as it happens compared to,
Yeah, or maybe another metaphor would be I'm allowing myself to play the background actor more instead of always trying to be the lead role.
Yeah, you're not trying to be main character.
Yeah, like I'm not envisioning myself as the main character as much anymore. It's like, I have my role to play in the background too. Sometimes I'm allowed to be the secondary guy or even just a background in the scene, and having, no speaking part. But yeah, it's interesting that like it's those little things. Like I said, like getting cut off in traffic and it just doesn't even register to the self.
Because at the end of the day, thinking about it, like it doesn't really have anything to do with you. It's just that asshole's fucking problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's the one that's in a hurry. He's the one that's, running the risk of causing a problem. You're just happened to be there when it happened. You know what I mean? So it could have been anybody else, but you just so happened to be the guy that he cut off that time.
Right. And that's
I get it. I kind of like, as we're speaking about it, like it's kind of clicking in my head to like the thought process and what you're looking at it. Like, it's just like, oh, all right, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, if it wasn't me, you would have cut somebody else off. So, all right, whatever.
Or like in my work scenario, right? Like I'm finding my judgment side disappears now.
I was literally thinking about this to myself yesterday, Sean, because like I'm trying not to be as reactive to things all the time. Cause like I feel like that's the root of a lot of my problems just in like in life and like with my temper and stuff like that is like I'm just so quick to react to things instead of taking a minute to process it. You know what I mean? So like I feel like I'm trying to take similar steps to kind of like what you're saying, just without the microdose aspect of it.
Well, it's like I said, like with like my work scenario, like losing this a judgmental state has become really easy now. So, there are times when you will inevitably in life not just in work, but in life in general. You will offer what is absolutely sound advice, and people who have asked you for that said sound advice will still choose not to take your advice and go against it.
Oh yeah,
And
that's a thing.
that has now
Some
become...
people are just like, dude, fucking sorry to cut you off, Sean. Like, I just want to say this on that. Some people are just like, they can't learn lessons through other people. They have to learn them themselves. And like it's tough to see people go through it, but like as long as they eventually get through it, I guess I'm for it.
Well, at the end of the day, what my advice is may not be theirs. It's mine at the end of the day. And losing, my judgmental side is huge, because like there are times where like that happens and you're like, dude, what are you, fucking stupid? Like, I literally just gave you the best advice you could have ever taken. Like, you're an idiot. And at the end of the day, like, it's not up to me. Like, I'm not here to be a judge for anybody but myself, because only I know me and my circumstances. And at the end of the day, I have no idea what that person's life has in store for them or what's going on at that very moment. And so how can I judge their decision making? I may have given them the best advice they've ever been given, but it may not be right for them at this time.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
okay. You know what I mean? And like, these are just kind of like these little things that I suddenly see shifting. And then it's like in those moments of introspection later in the quiet, when you're like, hey, wow, that was different. Why was that different? You go, oh, well, because you no longer saw it this way. Like, it's not an attack on me if you're unhappy about something that I'm not in control of. So why do I have to feel that my feelings are hurt? I don't. It's a choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird that these are things that we subconsciously do. Like, we so often choose to feel hurt when we don't have to, because somebody just,
I feel like we were just kind of like taught like from a young age to put so much value on certain things, when a lot of them don't really need as much value put to them as we do. You know what I mean? Just like it's kind of something that was like indoctrinated into us at like a young age, that like we continue just to like put in different aspects of life that it doesn't need to be there. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
No,
you know what
sure,
I mean?
For sure. It's interesting. Like, I think whatever the means, everybody benefits from being able to take time to step outside of themselves and be a conscious observer of themselves. Meditation, exercise, whatever that technique for those people is. It's interesting when you can step outside yourself for a moment and just kind of observe how you handle it in the moment and go, hey, wow, okay, that's not good. Or, hey, wow, that's better than I thought. It works both ways. But I think it would allow us to, and this is a recurring topic here on the show, be a lot cooler, be less of a dick to people more often. We step outside ourselves and see that like life isn't happening to us. We're an active participant. I think we would all end up a lot happier and a lot nicer to people, because we would no longer live a lot of life feeling like a victim of circumstance. We'd feel like an active participant creating circumstance and working with the circumstance at that rate. So yeah, we just got mad philosophical for a second there.
Dude, I'm down for philosophy. Honestly, dude, like this is the one thing. Like, there's actually, I shouldn't even say it that way. This is one of the many reasons why I just enjoy doing the show. It's because like I get to think and talk about stuff that like I normally don't think or talk about, right? And I think that like that really helps me like live my life outside of like this 2 hour space. And like I've taken things from these talks and like moved forward with them and like implemented them into my life and like actually like had, you know, serious positive results. And I think that like that's just one of those things that I appreciate about this show. And I appreciate about just being friends with you two dudes as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel comfortable enough that I can talk about whatever I want with you guys. And you know, even though I know that there's, you know, hundreds of people listening, that it doesn't bother me that they're there because like ultimately I'm just talking to you guys. And I think that talking about like philosophy or like talking about just beliefs or feelings even, like they're good for you to do as a human being. Some things are okay to internalize and there's some things that aren't, you know what I mean? And I feel like just some of the conversations that we have in here and some like the ways that we go in these conversations genuinely benefit my day to day.
Well, it's because they're conversations that you don't have on a daily basis. You know what I mean? These are things that a lot of people don't really want to talk about a lot of times.
Yeah, or they're
you know what I mean?
embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah, or embarrassed or self-conscious or, you know, whatever the fact may be. It's just like they're just conversations that you just wouldn't normally have unless you're in a situation like us where it's just like we have it's just the three of us sitting down and the whole point of us sitting down is to have conversation. You know what I mean? And it doesn't necessarily matter what the conversation is about. Like you said, the three of us have built such a rapport and a friendship and have really gotten to know each other so much over the years that we feel comfortable enough to speak our minds and give our opinions on some tough topics and, some, things that some people may not feel comfortable talking about because, like you said, we have the space that we built here to have that freedom to speak about these conversations. And like you said, I agree 100%. I have taken and learned so much from these conversations because like you said, that a lot of times I don't really have the opportunity to talk about these things. You know what I mean? Because, it's just not a normal topic. But dude,
yeah, or like you just have like not as deep of a
or you just don't get into it as much.
People.
You know what I mean? It's just very surface. You don't necessarily get into like the nitty gritty of it like we kind of do sometimes.
You don't always get into these conversations in an open room where just anybody can walk in and join a conversation midway. But
yeah.
I mean, aside from like what we take from it, that's what I enjoy about us being able to have these conversations and why I like to steer some of these conversations into these topics too, is the fact that for listeners who don't have anybody they want to talk to about that kind of stuff, at least they have us to listen to and hear what we think, what we've been through, our take on different situations, our perspectives, our experiences, and maybe learn from those things too.
Or maybe even inspire people to, have a group of friends that they talk about, whatever with, that maybe they might bring up one of these conversations in like one of their hangouts or when they're all getting together, shooting the shit. And they're like, hey, man, so I heard this shit on a podcast and it kind of got me thinking. You know what I mean? Maybe, who knows? Yes. Maybe we could help spark the conversation there.
And that's another thing, man, is like talking, like obviously human beings are social creatures. So we want to spend time and communicate with other people who are like-minded.
We want to relate, you know what I mean?
And that's the thing is like, I love the fact that here we are 100% authentic. You get exactly who we are. We're not playing characters. It's literally authentically us. And when we have a conversation like, about serious mental health things or like, how I'm trying this trial and all that sort of thing, like,
dude, sorry, Sean, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, but like this just gives people an opportunity to think, all right, well, there are other tools, there are other ways. But anyway, you're gonna say.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've come to the conclusion I have a hard enough time being me. You know what I mean? Like, why do I need to, try to be anybody else? You know what I mean? So just like, why didn't I fucking figure out how to make being me easier for me? And then, dude, life will be so much crazier. You know what I mean?
Well, right, and that's the thing, right? Is that when you think about some of the
Trying to like put on some sort of act or like
like think about some of like the
seem
most
like I'm
successful
not,
people.
emotional at times, or I'm not angry at times, or whatever. It's just like, no, dude, just let it happen, let it be. I am who I am, and that is what it is.
Like some of the most successful people in the world have gotten there because they are unapologetically themselves.
Yeah,
Whether it be weird, eccentric, or just wildly emotional.
I'm a little bit of everything, bro. You know what I mean?
That's it,
I'm a melting pot of emotions, dude.
And
100%.
that's one of those things that, at the heart of self-care and mental health is that like in this world where men have been taught for so long that we are not supposed to be emotional, we've really tried to not be emotional for so long that we don't know how to deal with the emotions when they do come up. It's like, hey, I'm disappointed. That means I'm angry, right? No, it just means you're fucking disappointed, bro. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to smash like Hulk because
Dude,
you got disappointed.
And that's one thing that I've been working on myself, Sean, is not necessarily equating every emotion that I have to anger. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's what I did for a long time as a kid, because I felt like, I'm not supposed to be sad. I'm not supposed, you know what I mean? Not necessarily like that's what like my parents told me or anything, but that's just society. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you're supposed to be
the kids
happy,
I was
calm,
around, yeah,
or mad. That's it.
yeah. I'm not supposed to be whiny or whatever, or be upset, or whatever it may be. And I feel like now I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to fucking differentiate the difference between certain emotions. You know what I mean? Dude, yeah, fuck, this sucks. Doesn't mean I have to be mad about it. I could be sad about it. I could be upset. I could be disappointed, but doesn't mean I have to be angry too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for me, bro. Because I've always struggled with the temper. I've said that multiple times, I think, on multiple platforms, but I've gotten a lot better with it over the years. And I think that's one of the biggest things that like I need to realize is that I don't have to equate every emotion I feel with anger. Like being sad, I don't have to be angry. If I'm disappointed, I don't have to be like if it's not necessarily a positive thing, doesn't mean I have to be mad. Or I don't have to get pissed off or angry about it. I can just take it for what it is, process it for what it is, and let it be. Doesn't mean I have to get fucking fired up and angry about every little fucking thing. There are times where it's okay to be angry, but not just because my fucking computer doesn't want to boot up. Not because I can't find something I'm looking for, or whatever. No, dude, that's when I need to take a second and be like, dude, it's not that big of a fucking deal. You don't need to be that fucking mad. Either it's gonna work, or you got to go get it fixed as far as the computer goes, or take a second, look somewhere else. You'll find it eventually. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, dude. Like for me, one of the things that I found really eye opening was differentiating shame from sadness. Because
that's an interesting one, dude.
Because the anger would make me do things I was then ashamed of. And that would send me into a dark place. And recognizing my shame.
Shame's a tough one, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, because nobody wants to admit that they're ashamed of themselves for something. But at the end of the day, like I'm beginning to get comfortable enough to say that, like, yeah, dude, like when I've been angry, I've done some shit that I'm ashamed of. I've walked out on people when I shouldn't have. Like, I've been a child
that's a weird one,
an adult.
Like, that's a weird one, especially when it's something that you're putting on yourself, dude. Because it's always in like weird situations that I feel like I put that on myself, and it's for things that sometimes I don't necessarily feel like I need to have put that on myself, but just because of the time and where I was at emotionally and the group of people I was with, I felt like that's what I had to feel. You know what I mean? And it's rough, dude, because it could put you, like you said, in a weird spot emotionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing is that for me, I always I would react in like the angry state, and then I would just get sad and depressed. And it was what I realized is that the trigger there was shame. I was ashamed of myself for acting like a fucking animal. And now I felt like I needed to punish myself by being depressed for a week.
It's like, yeah, dude, you're an asshole. You don't deserve to be happy, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like,
dude. You know what I mean?
Dude, I know that feeling. I've been there.
But learning to like identify it and be like, no, like you're just ashamed, and like you just need to admit it. Like, listen, I'm ashamed of what I did, and I'm sorry. And I've learned
because
from
like
it.
it's okay to put that on yourself, but like it's like you said, it's how you take it after the fact. You know what I mean? You're not necessarily doing it to put yourself down. You're doing it to make you realize, like, yeah, I fucked up. Okay,
right.
Realize it and move and learn from it instead of just being like, oh shit, my bad.
Exactly. And that's that difference between the, like as a kid growing up, you knew that you meant when you said you were sorry, but you still go and fuck up and do it the same thing over again anyway, right? But
because it didn't click in your head.
That's
like
that shame.
It didn't make sense.
When you actually feel ashamed for what you did wrong, then
it's because you realize that you did something wrong, or you went about something in the wrong way, or
And of course, that's related to empathy, right? Because to feel ashamed for something you did, you have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
You have to feel, what you did and feel what it's like on the opposite end.
Yeah, and be like, oh shit, like I left this person hanging and I fucked him hard.
Dude, that's always those are always the moments where I always, felt that, you know what I mean? Is when I did something to somebody that's happened to me in the past, or somebody did to me, and then I did it, and then I realized it. And I would just be like, wow, dude, you're a piece of shit. You did what all those people did to you, and
that you were pissed about,
and you were okay with it and then you were cool with it at the time, and when it happened. But now, like once you realize what you did, oh, dude, I felt fucking terrible, dude. I was like, man, I'm literally all those dudes that I hated. You know what I mean? I'm literally that guy.
Yeah, like I'm a hypocrite.
I'm a piece of fucking shit. And then like you said, Sean, for a while there, I was just like, I didn't feel like I deserved the friends that I had or whatever. Because obviously part of it too was like, man, I probably shouldn't be hanging out with these guys, because if these guys are making me act this way, or if I'm hanging out with these guys and I'm acting this way, maybe it's not the best crowd. And then I started realizing that, part of the reason I was acting like that is because the people I was hanging out with were like that. And I was like, well, that's not me, man. I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? Deep down, I know that's not me. I'm just doing it just because that's what everybody else is doing. And I just want to fit in, and I just want to be cool and hang out and, whatever. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, bro, once I made that realization, I feel like I'm such a better person for it.
Like another one that's been a tough one for me has been pride, right? Like, because I've grown up with a life where pride is bad. Pride is, you're not supposed to take pride. Like you can show pride in your work, but you can't take pride in your accomplishments. And that makes no sense, because if you're showing pride in your work and people are going to compliment your accomplishment, then you should take pride in that. And so it's like this modesty gone backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's okay to be modest, but you can also take pride in what you do and what you've accomplished. And so you guys have known me for years. It's always been difficult for me to accept compliments, and I'm recognizing why. And it's because I've had a bad relationship with the term pride, and thinking that prideful people are egotistical and self-centered. And that's different. You know what I mean?
And that's a big thing right there too, Sean. You just kind of made a point by what you said, and I don't think you even realized it. There's a difference between pride and fuck it. Whoa, why can't I think of it now? Brain fart.
And straight
ego.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a difference between having pride in what you do and being prideful and where you've come or where you're at and that sort of thing, and having an ego about it. And you know what I mean? Feeling like, yeah, I deserve this. I'm high. I'm mighty. That sort of thing. Like, there's a big difference, bro.
Exactly. And
as soon as you make that clarification, I feel like that's kind of where you're at now. And it's just like, okay,
that's exactly
I get
where
it
I'm
now.
at. It's
it's okay to be like, yes, I did a fucking good job here. Yes, I made that picture's fucking beautiful. I'm proud of it. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah,
or you get a
damn right. I did a good job on that.
Someone gives you a compliment. Fuck yeah. Thank you, dude. I feel like I did. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? It's okay to feel that. And because there are times where honestly, everybody deserves, to feel complimented or feel like they did a good job in something that they've did, especially if they put their heart into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's always nice to have those words of affirmation, dude. It's like, that's part of the reason why I love the fucking job I'm at now. I don't necessarily absolutely love what I'm doing, but I enjoy my job because I feel like I'm appreciated. I've been told time and time again, I do a fucking good job. You know what I mean? Thank you. You know what I mean? This, and that. And that goes a long fucking way in a lot of fucking things, dude. Even if it's just a random person in passing saying like, hey man, nice shoes, or dude, I love your glasses, or like whatever. Dude, that could fucking put your day on a totally different fucking, spectrum.
Well, and that's the thing. Now that I'm learning the difference in that whole pride versus ego aspect, I can get a positive reaction. Because prior to that,
now you're getting to feel that.
My head was backwards, and so like when people gave me the compliment, I was like awkward about it, and I was like, I felt uncomfortable to receive it, and I was like, no. This, what's this? A backwards compliment? Like, fuck you.
Well, yeah, because you always thought there's something behind it.
Exactly. There's going to be where's the snide remark.
Yeah.
And so like realizing that again, like this, I
feels good, huh?
I keep saying it because it's the sticking point that like is sticking with me right now, is that it's no longer a victim mentality of life is happening to me. It's about I'm actively participating in life.
But it does feel good to kind of get that compliment from time to time, especially if it's just like, dude, it's so cool, man. Not saying that it's something that I'm looking for every single day, or like, you know what I mean? It's what I need to have a good day or whatever. But like when it happens, dude, it's just that little fucking, little cherry on top of the day sometimes, you know what I mean? And it's just like, fuck yeah. That's like why when I try to like give him out whenever I think about it. Because, dude, I know how it makes me feel. And now, Sean, you know that feeling too. So it's like, dude, it's just not only that, bro, but if everybody did that, think of how much happier the world would be if people were just like, yo, man, you're killing it. Or you're like, dude, whatever you did was dope, especially if it was, you know what I mean?
That's like, you talk about the work and like that culture. Like, that's one of the things I love about my dispensary I'm in, is that like, literally we will just be on the,
can make a huge
we'll
difference.
Be on the mic and just be like, hey ops, you're killing it back there. Thank you for everything today. You know what I mean? Or, somebody will get on and be like, hey, 7:00 shout out to, blah, blah, blah for holding it down in the ID booth. Right. And it's like, dude,
little things like that go a long way, bro.
You don't realize how impactful it is.
So like I'm a moderator. I took this job as a moderator in this like newer NFT project, right? And I've been doing it for like, I don't know, maybe 5 weeks now, something like that. And there's like a shout out channel for like the team. And every time I see like a ping in there, I'll go in and check it out. And like I see like it's like every day, dude, there'll be like something. So it might be like, shout out to Overdrip for like running like 3 games and like handing out X number of whitelist spots and like keeping the energy going in the chat. And it's just like, yo, like, it's like that little bit of recognition. Like, does it really mean anything? No, like I'm not going to get paid anymore, but it's just like, it's noticed, right? And when people notice like you're putting in an effort, it's always nice, regardless of like how you take it, but you should only take it positive. You know what I mean? Unless like they say something this backhanded, like, thankfully Sean was doing something today, even though he rarely ever does it, but today he did it. Good for him. Like, unless they're saying something like that, then that's fucking just dick. But you know what I mean? If it's like some level of like, oh, cheers for being consistent. Like we always appreciate the hard work that you bring in and like the knowledge that you spread to our fucking clients. That is good. That makes you feel good. That should not make you feel bad. That should not make you think, oh, well, if they don't say that, does that mean that they don't think that they notice it this day that I'm doing that? Like, what do I have to change? It's not like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just you have to take those positives and you got to build on them. That's like, that's how life works, right? Little victories lead to bigger ones down the road. Little victories don't go unnoticed either.
And I think that's a beautiful point to end on. Little victories don't go unnoticed. I love it. Thank you for that one. So, yeah, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and send it around the room as we always do and bring this show to a close. So, Uncle Chris, go ahead and sign it out.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you guys had a good, relaxing time. I know that I did because I'll live the rest of today and probably the rest of this week a little bit easier. So I just want to say that this is the last time that I'll talk to you before I've been to Vegas, and I'm fucking so pumped about going to Vegas. I'm gonna meet up with James. I'm gonna meet up with our boy Vapor Swaggins. I just can't wait. I guess really it's just Swaggins. I can't wait to go. I'm gonna get to meet a bunch of people too that I've been like talking to online for like a year. So it's kind of like that same feeling that I got when I first went to NVE. And like even though I got to see people in like Zoom rooms and shit, like actually be able to like have like real life conversations in person. I can't wait for that. So I know that I've experienced something similar before and it was great. So I'm really looking forward to it. As for myself, I'll just I'll like pimp out some of the stuff that I do. So check me out Tuesday nights, Mixing It Up, KVTV's YouTube channel, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for Mixing It Up. Check me out on Friday nights on the Green Room. On French Ankle Vapor's YouTube channel, same time. And then lastly, I think like so just like a quick little thing. Like my site's gonna be up a bit longer, but I'm still like really deciding on like what's gonna happen. There's like a new law that just got implemented in Canada, and I'm not really sure that I want to go through the rigmarole of like charging a bunch of extra money. There's like a big excise tax and stuff, and I think that it's going to be difficult to navigate on my own, especially with like a bunch of things that are going on in my life right now. So I'm not really sure how much longer it's going to be open, but currently it should still be open. I think that I'll probably go until at least the end of October, and then I'll reevaluate. So if you want to go there, check it out, UncleChris.com. Use coupon code Shedtime. And check out our Patreon. Check out Shedtime Podcast. I'm just going to throw everything at you guys real quick. Any of those things help us. So much appreciated. And lastly, I'm going to just say, live your best life. Frames.
All right. I want to say one thing to all the Shedheads out there. Remember, guys, you guys are all fucking beautiful, amazing people. We can't thank you enough for all of your continuous support that you guys give us, because it really means a lot to us. It helps us continue to do what we're doing. If you guys are just now tuning in, make sure you guys leave us a review. Let us know what you guys think about the show. Go check out our Patreon, like Chris said. If you guys want to help support what we're doing here, we got some crazy discount codes. You guys can see video of the podcast as well. See our beautiful faces, and of course, if you want to get a double dose, you can also check us out on my YouTube channel on Friday nights for the Green Room. You guys can even have a possibility come hang out with us on the show over there when we do Shedhead sessions. You know what I mean? If you guys are into that. If you guys also want to tune in for some vape build-offs and other cool stuff, we do that on the show. And then, of course, do some reviews throughout the week as well. Other than that, I just want to say shout outs to the boys. I love every fucking Sunday when I get to hang out with you dudes and have these conversations. Because like I said, we don't get to have them all the time, but I feel like this is a place where I get to have them. And now I get to have them all the time. And it's actually really rewarding, bro, in multiple ways. You know what I mean? Because I get to some things off my chest. And I also get to learn a lot, you know what I mean? Not only about you guys, but also about myself and about, different ways to go about life. And it's a great thing, man. Hopefully you listeners out there take as much out of this as I believe the three of us do, because it's a great thing, man. It's a great thing. So tune in and check us out here, as always, ending it with positive vibes, crisp high fives, and as always, a little dab will do you. Sean.
Oh, yes. I'm just going to echo that sentiment. I want to give the biggest shout out to the Shedhead community. You guys are incredibly amazing. There are Shedtime license plates in the wild. One of our patrons has a design for Shedtime guitar picks. Like, it's amazing that you guys support us as much as you do, and we thank you guys so much, and we couldn't do it without you. So a big shout out to all of you guys that are out there listening, and of course an extra special shout out to the patrons. Without you, this show genuinely would be impossible to do. So it really does mean a lot to all of us that you guys support us the way that you do. And I'm also going to echo the sentiment that I just genuinely appreciate you fellas, and the fact that we can do this so openly for the listeners. We can have these kind of meaningful conversations and, open each other's eyes, expand our own minds, and make a beautiful piece of content all the while we do it. So with that, I'm just going to remind you guys, like I do every single week, don't let the bastards get you down. Be cool. Don't be a dick. And whatever it is that you do, try and have some fun, because it's the Shedtime Podcast, and we're going to roll on up and roll on out.
Dynavap, Dynavap, Dynavap. Looking to cut the cord on your dry herb vape? Dynavap. Trying to get the best taste from your herb? Dynavap. Ready to take your sesh to the next level? Then meet Dynavap, the best way to vape your flower or concentrate. Concentrates? That's right, your flower or hash can be vaped using Dynavap. Check out Dynavap.com to learn more. That's Dynavap.com. Lose the ash? Dynavap.
What's going on, Shedheads? It's your boy, Frames Janklin. Are you looking to step up your match game or have a raw copper, brass, or stainless mod or RDA that you're absolutely tired of polishing? Then you need to go and hit up my man Ashton of Palmer's Powders. He does some absolutely amazing powder coating work. He offers many different colors and finishes at an absolutely killer price. This man is taking powder coating to a whole new level, and he can make your setup an absolute masterpiece. You can go follow him over on Instagram at Palmer's Powders, and you can go check out pricing on his website, palmerspowders.com. That's palmerspowders.com. And as always, let's just vape on, Shedheads.
I want you to think of your favorite rebuildable right now. Yeah, okay, so you have a layer cake in your hand, and now you're about... Oh, sorry, yeah, that's not everyone's favorite. That's just mine. So think of your favorite rebuildable atomizer. Think about how good of a vape it produces for you. Now, take that and amplify it. And the way that you amplify that is you put in some Breezestone coils. Breezestone coils are handcrafted in Adelaide, Australia. They're made from some of the finest quality wire that you can get. I believe it's Wire Buddha. You take those coils, you take them out of that phenomenal packaging that clearly shows how much care that Adam puts on the quality of his coils and the insurance that you get them in good shape. You put them in that favorite RDA, and guess what? You have coils that now sing better than Celine Dion. Go check out Breezestone coils. You can find them on localvape.com and also steelvalleyvapors.com. Sup, dude?
So you guys down to take some fatties or what, dude? Ben Globbin, the dabbing goblin, baby.